How's it going, you guys? I'm Maria, aka MPixel, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be covering Lightroom basics, and I'll be teaching you everything from the basic to how to edit a picture, taking an example obviously to teach you, because just teaching you the basics is not going to get you anywhere unless you know how to practically put it in. So if you are a new viewer, I recommend you to subscribe and hit the like button, and if you are a returning subscriber, I still recommend you to like this video, because what we're going to be covering is something important if you're new to Lightroom and do not know anything about it. And even if you know the basics or anything about Lightroom or how it works, I hope you get to learn something new to this tutorial. And yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into Lightroom. So here we have Adobe Lightroom CC 2018. I have not updated my Adobe products yet, so we're still using 2018 instead of 2019. But it's not gonna be much of a difference, considering the basics always remain the basics, and max to max what's gonna change is the placement of stuff, and I have not seen the 2019 version yet, so I cannot guarantee what changes are gonna be there. But most Adobe products I have seen have only had like changes in the keyboard shortcuts and stuff, but here you're not gonna need much shortcuts except for a few. So first things first, how are you gonna import your files into Lightroom? Obviously, looking at all of this stuff, it looks a bit mind-boggling to like even comprehend where to put in stuff from. All you gotta do is know your source folder. Like I have this whole big path that I can choose my pictures from, and I need to remember this. So when I go into folders, I'm just gonna be clicking on this plus next to folders, add folder, and find my folder and just select it. It's gonna obviously ask me about the pictures that I want to export in. Also a quick tip, always try shooting in RAW. RAW formats are always either in DNG or in NEF format. So what that does is give you an advantage of storing more and more data. But one thing that you need to keep in mind when shooting in RAW is that you don't blow out your highlights. Like there are no blown up highlights. For this case, this is obviously a light, this is like the center of highlights, so it's gonna be bright. But other than that, most of your details should be preserved. Don't overexpose your picture. Underexposed will work, but no overexposing. That is the only backdrop of RAW, but it's better than shooting in JPEG. So what you're gonna do is you've opened your folder, well and good, you have your folder open. What you're gonna do is just double click on the picture you wanna edit, and you have two ways to edit. If you want to make like minor changes, you go into quick develop and put up your preference things, but we're gonna go into a little more detail that you might want to use more, and I use more. That is develop, which gives you full control of everything that you want to edit. So firstly, you have histogram. Histogram is basically information about your color and its peaks. It's a bit too much to get in right now, but this tells you about blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites in that order. As long as your peaks don't go, like it shows me my highlights are too high, that is a bad thing according to Lightroom, and it low-key is in this picture too. And for the other arrow, it shows you clipping. So as long as these arrows, they don't show a warning mark to you, your picture is fine, to be honest. Next, you have basic editing, which is about exposure, contrast, and all those basic things you have in here. And for the presence, clarity, dehaze, vibrance, and saturation, you already know what vibrance and saturation are. You probably do. This is why you're into editing and you do know something about editing. So what vibrance does is it increases the vibrance in your picture, makes it more vivid. pops up your colors basically. That's what vibrance does. And for the case of saturation, it just darkens your colors, make them more rich, and that's all. For clarity, it's similar to sharpening, but I recommend not using it much unless you're going for that look, because it's not 2006 now. And in case of dehaze, you can remove the mist sort of things by increasing, and add some haze by decreasing, so it kind of softens up your picture. If you're going for that kind of look, it might work for you. Same goes for clarity, it just softens up your picture. If you take it in the negative side, you can even slide by that, or use the slider, or just type in your values. Everything on these panels works the same way. You can drag them, or just type in your values, or just drag the sliders. I recommend to let Lightroom do the toning, auto toning, so just click auto. It's gonna bring everything in balance. Yes, the clipping indicators are gonna give you a bad sign about it, but we can fix it later. And as for white balance, it's up to you which you want to choose. Next we're gonna do is some lens corrections if there need any. Chromatic aberration can be removed. For lens profile corrections, this is most useful only for DSLRs, where you know what your lens is. You can just put it in and it's gonna correct the already present flaws in your lens that its data has. So that's not very useful for us right now, since this picture is shot on mobile, but you can change distortion and vignetting based on your lens. Next we come to detail tab. I'm not going in order, I'm so sorry, but this is just the flow of my editing, so I'm just gonna go in that. For the details tab, what you got is, you see this is zoomed in. This has a lot of grain, and if you want to see this on the larger screen, since most of you might be using mobile to view this video, this has a lot of grain. You can just see it in his face. If I try to like zoom in more, it's horrible. So we're gonna reduce that a bit by using this noise reduction tab, by just increasing the slider just a little. I usually don't go for 50, but if that looks good, because the face is too in, and that looks sort of better, but I'm just gonna reduce it down to 30 or something, because that looks better. For the color, this color tab is not the color you're thinking it to be. It's not about vibrance, saturation, or anything else, or like whatever you might be thinking. It's about the blending of colors. It's the color noise. So what sliding this does, it lets you blend the colors better, so noise is avoided as much as possible, but I'll just leave it at 25. This is the sharpening tab. Increase or decrease your sharpening, but I do not suggest increasing the sharpening like this bad. Just leave it be. It looks better now, like the shirt zoom and stuff. It's much better than what it was originally. The contrast in the noise reduction, it just lets you like lessen it up against sharpening, so I just leave it to 0. Let's close this tab and move ahead. Next that we might need to do is transformation. What this lets you do is sort of crop, rotate, and change the perspective. So if you up your scale, it zooms in. Downscaling can like even send it to inside the frame, and you would not want that unless you're going for that look. X offset and Y offset. Changing the slider helps you move your image when you're scaled in, so you can change it according to your liking. And for the horizontal and vertical, this is just about some other stuff. Yeah, this is about the perspective. It changes your perspective distortion accordingly. We do not want that right now, So aspect ratio, just to like fix if any aspect distortion is present in your picture. And for the rotation, it's obviously rotation, just to rotate your photo, not your video, your photo. Constraint crop, if you want to keep the aspect ratio fit, it will automatically fit your picture accordingly. So that's quite useful when it comes to like cropping too into your picture, or like if you're not sure if your picture is gonna move out of frame, it's gonna fill the frame for you basically. Moving on to the calibration tab, this is something important, especially if you're going for a specific mood. This tab is what helps you set a mood to your pictures. So like what I like to do is like move on to a little teal side, so all my blues are going into teal. Like you see, the more I slide, the more it changes. So I wanted the blue primary to be a little teal, and what it does, it just turns all blues into teal. And this is calibration, it's not coloring, it's just changing the hue, so that's a different thing than coloring. Just keep that in mind. So when I do this, all my red tones become richer, my blue tones, which were the primary, in this case blue primary, they will go into the teal direction, and your green will start picking up a little red or yellow. So just adjusting it to my liking and increasing the saturation because I like it a little saturated. It also lightens up my picture a little. Next that we're gonna do is work with the green primary. Since you can see you have some plants in there, I want them to be a little yellow, so that's what I'm gonna be doing here, and a little desaturated because I like that dead look. Next, working with the red primary, I do not want his face to be like that, so I'm just gonna desaturate the red primaries a little, just a little, like so. And the red primary is gonna be affecting all the yellow tones and orange tones and anything that's in the red family. So when I change my red primaries, it's definitely gonna affect his shoes as well, like so. Next is the tints of the shadows only. I do not know why they haven't mentioned the highlights, but this also helps set a mood. And I'm not going for this edgy look, that looks really awful. I'm just gonna go a little minus, in maybe -5 or -10. That might look better. So that's it for the calibrations. Next we're gonna go into the main thing, the HSL color tab. Right now what we're working with is the color tab. HSL can let you separate hue, saturation and luminance all together, and by selecting all you have them individually sorted, but I prefer going with the color tab because it has hue, saturation and luminance per color together, so you would not lose your flow while working. So for the reds, I think there's some red in here, so I'm just gonna leave it just like that, to be honest. For oranges, I would like to adjust some of it. Desaturating oranges is going to take away so much because all of this is a little orange, so I'm just going to leave it just like that, and maybe just increase the saturation a little to give it a good look. Yellows are okay. I desaturate them to make the stairs look a bit more better because the stairs look yellow to me right now. The greens are quite okay, but I'll move them to a little yellow. Yep. Increase the luminance a little, that looks better. The aquas can move a little to blue. Here, I moved the wrong tab. I'm boo-boo the fool. Sorry, and the blues can move to the aquas. To give it that look. Very see right there, it has turned. You can just see how. And one more thing, double clicking on any of the adjustment tabs can help you bring them back to 0, so basically resetting. For purples, I do not see any purples, but I'll move them to pink anyways, just in case there are any purples. And magentas are basically non-existent, but if there are any, they must move to red. Just to take a look at your photo and how it's turning out, you just need to click Y on your keyboard to view your before and after. So this is what we had originally, and this is what we have now. You can zoom into parts to compare. The noise has lessened, the greens have changed, and everything like that. You can just compare it just like that. And most of the editing, that whatever made this editing easy was the fact that this was all captured in RAW, else most colors would have been left unidentified due to the lack of information. And let me tell you, always have space in your phone if you're clicking RAW to your phone, because each RAW picture exceeds at least 20 MB in size. So you can also change the style you want to view before or after, like just left right split, or top bottom, or top bottom split. I always prefer going by this though, so we're going to be using that for now. The histogram looks better now, except for this clipping, which is the shadow clipping, and that is in the region here. This is the clipping that's annoying us. We can correct that by either pushing this in. That instantly changed it. Well, basically let's just do it by this, it's better. Next thing that we might use if we like is split toning. It works only for highlights and shadows. So for highlights, if I want to use like a teal look, I'll just move it to the teal colors and increase the saturation a little. That's gonna affect my picture. And for the shadows, I want it to be like a little orange or something, so I'm just gonna increase it like that, and that gives it a look. But for now, I do not need these. Next thing that a lot of you might find useful, because most people are getting into this style lately. I have been seeing the film effect, how you put that film on top of your picture is by using the tone curve. You can do wonders with this tone curve. Right now the channel we're using is RGB, so that means white light, pure white. You can also make adjustments to individual colors like red, blue and green, obviously, which make up RGB, since our digital stuff is usually RGB when you shoot. So what we're gonna be doing is just lift it a little from the extreme left side, and from the right top we're gonna bring it down so as to just bring this line onto the central point. Next we're gonna make points on the intersect of these two lines. That is the bottom right box, bottom left box, I'm sorry, and one on the top right box. That gives it a film. So if we turn off, this is the off and on switch for each entire tab. Like if I remove my colors, it takes out the colors from my picture, the color adjustments that I did. Similarly, if I turn off my curves, it's gonna show you the difference it makes. So that's pretty cool, to be honest. That's how I like it like that right now. Next, that I need to tell you, did I cover everything? Yep, I did cover everything about these tabs, but what I have not covered yet are these tools. Let me show you what they are. That's a crop overlay. That helps you crop your picture, obviously, just as the name suggests. I'm not gonna crop this picture, it looks fine to me just like that, to be honest. Next, this is a cloning brush tool, not brush, cloning brush tool. What this tool does is, when you want to clone something on, all you need to do is, let's just remove his eyes for instance. I just want to do that, that seems fun. To increase or decrease the brush size, all you need to do is use your square brackets. That's gonna decrease the size and increase the size. So let's just do that quickly, just in the size of his eye. That covers it. Also, shout out to my model Rishabh Sharma. I'm gonna be linking his Instagram down in the description. Make sure to follow him. He's a fellow photographer or learner, however you like it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just click on his eye, and it's gonna automatically pick an area that seems suitable to fill in, and we were able to fill in his eye that way. Yep, that doesn't seem very good, but that's basically what this does. So that was about it. What you can do is you can delete by clicking on it when the hand appears and click the delete button, that deletes it. For the other one we can do the same, delete, because I do not want that to happen to this picture either way. So next that we're gonna go into is, our histogram looks good actually. This is the red eye correction. What it does is it just asks you to like select your eye accordingly. You can just place it and remove the red eye according to your choices. You can change the size by just going onto the border and dragging it to make it smaller and bigger, but I do not need it, so I'm just going to be deleting this. Also there's a pupil size option instead, just in case you want that for a red eye, and there is a pet eye option as well that gives you a pet option, and you can increase or decrease the darkening intensity according to your liking, and you can see inside the circle it makes a difference. Let me just drag it down, see, right? And you can increase the pupil size according to your liking, but we do not need this right now, so we're going to be deleting this. Next up we have is a graduated filter. What it does is that when you like decide to put a filter on it gradually, you just drag it from a corner of your picture, for example. See, it makes a difference. It's just like those Instagram graduated blurs that you see, and you can make adjustments within the filter according to your liking, like maybe giving it a light leak or something from a corner, if that's what you like doing. But right now I do not want that to happen, so I'm just going to delete this by clicking the delete button. Next we have is a radial filter, similar to a graduated filter. It's just a circle, it's literally just a circle, and you can like change its size and make adjustments to it. The center will stay free of your filtering, and everything out of the circle will be affected apparently. I do not need this either. Yep, it shows the red area when you go to the center, and it tells the effective area in which your filter has been applied. I do not need this, I'm going to be deleting this. Finally, the adjustment brush. Now this is something that's very useful when it comes to retouching skin, if you like doing it in Lightroom. Personally, I do not do it in Lightroom. I prefer doing it in Photoshop, but let's just go through what this does. What it is basically like a paintbrush. It paints filter over specific areas that you like. For example, if I want to brighten up his skin, I'm just going to run it over his skin a little, like so, his entire face basically. And yep, that looks better. Not totally, a little, just a little. And next that you can do is change stuff like exposure, contrast. Like I can like remove some of of it from his face, change it like so. This circle here, it indicates the presence of a adjustment brush filter being applied. So when you move your arrow over it, it shows you the effective area. And to get rid of the extra fall-offs, what you can do is zoom in by clicking Ctrl plus the plus key on your keyboard. To move around, you can use the space bar held down, and with your mouse you can drag around. Use the brush but hold down the Alt key so it becomes a minus inside this very brush, and just paint outside your selection to remove anything unwanted from your selection, just as so you don't affect things that were not supposed to be affected. Checking now, it must be better. Yep, it's better, except that his hair is still selected for some reason, so we're gonna be getting rid of that as well. You can change the size of the brush just like how we discussed earlier. Windows always does this, makes weird noises out of context. That's nothing to worry about though. Right, we are done with here, and we can check our selection again if we like, and that's perfect. So what we did using this adjustment brush was something a bit different, but I cannot show you the difference, I guess. Yep, I cannot show you the difference in this case. I can actually. Here, if I turn it off, that's the face of the model, and if I turn it on, that's the face of the model. Has changed totally. What I would like to do is give his hands a little bit of that highlight as well, so it looks better for his overall skin, and so it does not look like he just tanned his hands and not his skin. So just make it uniform instead. Shortcut key for the adjustment brush, it's going to be useful, so I'm just going to tell it, is K. So when you hit K, you can exit or enter the adjustment brush mode. That was about it for editing. How would you import it out of Lightroom? Like, how would you export it basically into a folder of choice? All you got to do is right click, go to export, and just choose from here what final path you'd want it to have. I'm just gonna create a folder real quick according to dates, because I like working with dates better, and it was the 18th. There we go. I have selected this folder. That's it. If you want to put it in a subfolder, you can do that by just renaming it to anything. For example, our model name is Bishop, so it's gonna go into what did I do? Oh my god, I just hit export. I'm sorry. Yep, so what you're gonna be doing is, what it's gonna do is go into this path, into this folder or this date, and create a new folder by this name and put the image inside this folder. It's gonna be saved as this because I have not chosen a custom name. If I do, I can by going here, create a custom name, custom text. I'm just gonna type in a model's name again, and it was shot where, there we go. The extensions, lowercase, uppercase, it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest, so I'm just gonna leave it just like that. quality, we want it the best quality. Format is up to you. I prefer exporting in JPEG. Color space, just leave it to sRGB. Do not play around with that. Limit file size if you want a specific file size, but that's gonna like cost you some quality, so just it's up to you what you do with this. Next is image resizing. If you want a specific height and width, it's gonna resize and choose a resolution. Resolution is always try keeping it at 300. That's the best resolution possible. Sharpen 4 if you want like an output sharpening. I do not use it personally, so I just leave it like that. You can play around with it if you'd like to. Screen matte paper, glossy paper, that's for print basically, and I do not print pictures, so that's useless for me too, totally. Next, metadata. Include metadata. It was the metadata is the information stored in your picture originally when you click it, like the location, face detected if any, and geotagging and stuff like that. So it's just gonna keep it, and even information like what lens you used, what camera you used, all that stuff, date, time, size, everything that comes into metadata. I usually do not touch this. I do not know why I have these checked, but I'm just gonna leave it like that. Maybe watermark, if you want one, you can like just simple copyright watermark or something, up to you, but I suggest doing that in Photoshop or something like that. That's better. After export, do nothing. Show in folder, open another application, go to export actions folder view, some stuff that you want to do after post-processing if you want. I do not want to do anything, to be honest, after this. This is just a tutorial for me. So that is it. And just hit export. This indicator will tell you about your export progress. It has been exported totally into the folder that we selected, so we're just gonna go into that folder and search for it. So this is what we got by mistake, so I'm just gonna delete that, and this is what we received on this end. So that was all for today's video. I hope you learned something from this. Make sure to leave a like. Please subscribe for more content like this and some speed ups that I have posted in the past. I'll be linking them. Follow my Instagram. Please tag me in your work. I'd love to see stuff from you guys, so do tag me on my Instagram. I'll be dropping the link in the description. Yep, that's all for this video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep tagging.